Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Unfuck Yourself podcast. Today we have Meghan here, so let me explain a backstory. So Meghan is an Unfuck Yourself Academy student. She's in the membership. She does a bunch of stuff. I've had so many lives with her. And she, about how many months ago was this? 3 months ago?
That you asked.
That I asked, yeah.
January 16th.
Oh my God, she has the date.
No big deal. I wrote it in my notes. It's
fine. It's fine. She has the date. On January 16th, 2024, yeah. I put an Instagram story up and I said, you guys, I get so many questions in my DMs, what if we do a podcast episode where I pick one person, they can come ask me any questions that they have at all? And Meghan was one of the first people to be like, oh my God, me. And then a bunch of other people submitted too. And then I kind of forgot about it. And then I'm in LA right now. And I was like, oh my gosh, Meghan lives in LA. And I had this memory of, oh my gosh, she put her name on there. And then I texted her, I go, Meghan, do you want to do this in person? And we were just screaming for the whole week that we got to meet in person. And now here we are.
Here we are.
So Meghan's going to be actually interviewing me on my own podcast, which I've never done before, but that's exciting. And she's going to just ask all her burning questions, all the questions that I'm sure so many people have. And she came with research, and she came with freaking cue cards that match the exact pink color. If you're watching the video, you can see, but if you're just listening, they match the exact pink color of the podcast cover. And they say, unfuck yourself with Allie and info. And then she's not fucking around. She wrote her questions down. She has cue cards. She did research. She told me she did research.
Listen to all the other episodes. I can't be asking the same questions.
And so she has questions that no one's ever asked me before, apparently.
So here we go.
Let's do it.
Okay. So I'll just give a little backstory. I found you on TikTok, and it's actually pretty funny because I'm not one of those people that scrolls on TikTok. I literally open the app, and it's just the first video that I ever see. So you finding your way onto my For You page is so slim to none because I rarely ever get on there. So I see this girl talking and I'm like, okay, what is she saying? I'm glued to the screen for 3.5 minutes. And I'm like, wait, I'm obsessed. I stalk you. Go to all your other stuff. I'm like, obviously follow. Now we're going to Instagram. We got to see all her stories. Follow. Then you did your 5-day workshop. I was hooked. I was like, and here we go. And then here we are. I was obsessed day one. So that is how I found you. And also I found it really interesting that since I've followed you, I've kind of been obsessed with your energy. I'm like, I don't know if I met you in real life and didn't know you, would we be friends? And I feel even before I knew this work, I was I feel you can just tell people's energies and if they're on or off. And when you're on social media, I'm like, this is crazy how intensely glued I am to this girl's page. How I listen to everything. Just your sister talking about you need to do a get ready with me. And I was she's not wrong. Okay. But then the more that I thought about it, I was Allie does nothing. You just talk and I'm captivated versus other people are doing the most. They're here's a get ready and acrobats. And then look at this. And I'm just I'm so bored. You're everyone else saying the same thing and you're saying things that no one else is saying.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So that's how I first fell in love.
Oh my God.
And here we are.
I was just sitting here looking at Meghan earlier. I was I just love you. Just keep being you.
It's the note cards.
We're having a love affair.
Yes. Okay. Question 1. So what would you say to anyone who has doubts about energy work?
Ooh, that's a really good question. Well, I would explain it in a more science term. First, I would ask them, have you ever, do you have an ex and you know their car? And you never noticed the kind of car they had until after you started dating them and now you've broken up and now you really notice that car everywhere. But before you dated them, you never saw the car, right? You never paid attention to it. But now you notice that fucking car everywhere. That's called the law of focus. What we focus on, we get more of. And there's no denial that if you wake up in a certain kind of mood, right? Let's say you wake up and you're in a really good mood. Someone doesn't hold the door for you. Someone cuts you off. You're whatever, I'm in a really good mood. I'm going to this really fun thing today. Or I'm having this really fun first date with this hot babe, And you have no problem. If you wake up, you stub your toe, you have a headache, someone said something rude to you. Now when the person doesn't hold the door, you're pissed. Now when someone cuts you off, that's even more annoying. Now these things just keep building up, building up, building up. And that's, again, the law of focus. What we focus on grows, we get more of. So I would explain it with like tangible things that are actually going on in people's lives that they may not have even noticed that they're doing. Also, when we are doing energy work, all we're doing is guiding light into the cells in the body. And everything in this universe starts out as a thought. So this water bottle started out as a thought, this microphone started out as a thought. Everything had to start out as a thought. Someone had to think of the thing to create, design it, send it off to a manufacturer, and then someone had to create it, and now it's physical. So anything that goes on in the body or goes on around us, or the people, situations, circumstances, and situations we are finding ourselves experiencing in and around, those, how life is responding to us, started out as a thought. You kept thinking it, you kept thinking it, you created it into your reality, and now it's existing in the physical.
I feel like that's really simple. I feel like that's tangible that people can like hold on to. It's not some like huge explanation. Like, okay, thoughts, got it.
Yeah, easy.
Easy, done. Okay. Do dogs have souls?
They do have souls.
Okay, I knew it. Definitely my dog has a soul. She's a human in there, I'm telling you. I call her my sister because I'm like, no, she's not even a dog.
Like, she could be. Just kidding. Dogs do have souls. And so for human souls, when we have 10 halos, we get to 10 halos, we then are at 1,000 frequency, and then we can no longer exist like in the earthly plane. For dogs, once they hit 3 halos, they're like this ascended master dog, and then their next life is a horse. Isn't that wild?
I wonder what halo she's on. I'm like so obsessed
2.
with it. Okay, well, hopefully she reincarnates and I get her again.
Yeah.
Okay, so you talk about...
should.
I hope so. You talk about reflections a lot, especially in our courses of UYA, and you're like, okay, so find the reflection. How do I find it without asking you to channel it for me?
Okay, so the law of reflections is, for anyone who doesn't know, essentially however we're being toward ourselves, that is how people are going to be toward us. It's going to determine the people, situations, circumstances we find ourselves in and around. So if you're triggered by someone, and then you're like, oh yeah, fuck them, let me go to the next one. And then you're like, oh, the same kind of triggers coming up. Maybe they're not saying the same thing, but the same feelings coming up. And you're like, oh yeah, fuck them, let me go to the next one. They don't see my value, let me go to the next one. And now you just are in this fucking loop of people not seeing your value, or whatever it is you feel like they're being, right? And what happens is you are actually the common denominator of all of that. Like, it is you that's the common denominator.
No one wants to hear that.
No one wants to hear that. However, what's great is when we take radical responsibility for that we created that means we can uncreate it and then create something that we actually want. We're in one fucking massive Stockholm syndrome right now, just everyone is, with whatever, like waiting for some type of president to come save you, waiting for whoever to come save you, waiting for even Jesus to come save you. Like, Jesus is just a high, like ascended master, high frequency soul. Great fucking dude, like insane healer.
Him, cool.
Love him. But he, like his whole point was like, you can heal yourself, you know? And Source, we're just extensions of Source. Source is like, you are an extension of me, right? And so this whole thing of like this Stockholm syndrome of like waiting for someone to save us, here we go, going into it. Like, the government will like just fuck you over, and then you're fucked by them, but then you're like waiting for them to then send you a stimulus check, or you're waiting for them to save you. That's Stockholm syndrome. You're like waiting for someone to come save you. But if you can take radical responsibility over your circumstances, over how you feel, over what you're creating, you take all your power back, and you have that co-creation power then with Source, with the universe, to be able to then create what you desire, because all our reality is what we believe to be true. All we believe to be true is a repetitive thought that we have over and over and over again. We change our thoughts, shifts our beliefs, shifts the neural pathways in our brain, and it changes and shifts our reality and how we're experiencing it. So with reflections, how you can start to see what your reflections are without asking me is super simple. You can start, how do I feel like they're being? What's my judgment of the situation? And whatever, it's not what they're saying. What they're saying to you is about them. So whatever someone's saying to you, that's how they feel about themselves. It's not what they're saying. It's however you feel like they're being, whatever you feel like your judgment is of that thing, of what they're saying. So if it's a person, I'm going to go, how do I feel like they're being? Well, I feel like they're like being judgmental. Okay, where am I judging myself? And you're probably not judging yourself with the same thing they're being judgmental about. Where the reflection pops up is never where it started. You're probably being judgmental in a completely different area of life. So let's say you're at work and you and an employee who does the same exact job as you both fuck up. The employee does the same exact job as you. Let's say they're not like judgmental of themselves. They just like let themselves off the hook really easily. And let's say you're highly judgmental of yourself. Let's say now your boss is highly judgmental of themselves and they're really critical on themselves. You know, they need someone to take it out on. So you guys both fuck up. Who's going to be more of a magnet to the judgmental, critical boss? The person who's judging themselves or the person who lets themselves off the hook? The person who's judging themselves. So it's not even what we're doing. It's what's getting programmed into our electromagnetic field, which is what I like to call our creator field. And whatever we believe to be true, whatever we believe about ourselves and how our experience has to be in the world, that gets programmed into our creator field and broadcasted out. And that determines how people are treating us, the situations, the circumstances, the events, whatever that we find ourselves in and around. So if you don't like what's going on, if you don't like who you're creating, you can change it and shift it by going, why am I the common denominator of this? What's my judgment of this? How do I feel like they're being? Where am I being that way toward myself? Shift it, get a brain reprogramming tool, which I'm sure there's questions on, so we can get into that later. Get a brain reprogramming tool and actually shift it in the neural pathways in your brain, in your subconscious mind. When you connect, our heart has kind of technically a brain too. When you connect to your emotions, it's how you shift. You start to shift, you start to create different circumstances. You can't outrun them. You can't outrun your creator field. You've heard the story, but I'm going to share it on here. I had a girl in the Unfuck Yourself Academy in a live one time, and she was like, Allie, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I'm literally like, everyone annoys me, so I locked myself in the house. I am meditating. I'm not talking to anyone. I haven't seen anyone in weeks. And now there's a bunch of flies in my house flying around, and I'm so annoyed and irritated. And I go, exactly, because you can't outrun your energy. Like, it will find you. If these things are also helping us get what we want too, right? So if she no longer wants to be annoyed, it's not locking herself away in her house or moving to the jungles of Costa Rica and getting out of it and escaping the Matrix or whatever. It's because it's gonna find you there. You know, there's gonna be bugs, there's gonna be annoying things that happen there. So it's not about running away, it's about, if you don't wanna be annoyed, it's shifting yourself, it's shifting your own beliefs, your own thing, it's shifting why that's coming up for you. So that way you can live life and not be affected by other people and not give other people your power. So these bugs were in her house. I was like, yeah, because you didn't solve the annoyance. You ran away and you tried to like solve it from an external thing. So she was like, oh, that makes sense. So you can't outrun it.
Is there any percentage where it's like them versus you? So you meet a narcissist and she's just a flat out bitch. Mm-hmm. Like, is that, like, everyone sees it. Mm-hmm. All the people in the group. So it's not like, oh, she's only being this way towards me. Is that like 20% she's a narcissist and 80% she's like bringing out something in you? Or is it like 100% you?
Really good question. So it's not that we necessarily turn other people into something. It's we make ourselves a match for someone who's already like that, and then we draw them into our creator field. You know what I mean?
They gotta go.
And they gotta go. But if you are neutral about it, not a reflection. If you're even slightly triggered, it's a reflection. Mm. And so here we go. The whole like thing that you see on TikTok of like, everyone's a narcissist, get him out. That's a narcissist, they're a narcissist, she's a narcissist, he's a narcissist. I'm like, oh my God, not everyone's an actual fucking diagnosed like, narcissist. It's actually like not that common to be an actual diagnosed narcissist. And so it's like, okay, if you're attracted, this person taking radical responsibility, because then once you shift, one of two things happen. Either, if they're not an actual diagnosed one, either the person actually starts to shift and treat you differently, and like treat you the way you're treating yourself, or they stay the same but you're so neutral about it, you're not triggered, and then you just neutrally leave the relationship or the friendship or the situation. And when you neutrally leave, that's how you know you're not going to create it again, when you neutrally leave. If you leave because they don't see my value, they ghosted me, they don't commit to me, and you're pissed or you're feeling some type of way about it, or you're sad or you're whatever, it's gonna follow you. And even if you, let's say this is with relationships, let's say you never date again, it'll follow you now into money or into your career. It'll find an area of life, or your health, right? Like you can out-manifest some of these things if you know exactly how to manifest, but you don't outrun the reflection. Like it will just pop up in another area.
That's so fun.
It's wild.
Yeah.
But these things, I want to like preface, like this is never a punishment. Like this is why reflections happen, is because they're helping us get to what we want. So for example, if I am wanting to make $20 million, I'm now, and I've decided like that's what I want to go do in my brand or whatever, then any belief that I have that is not a match to hold that amount of money, or any thought that I have of like, oh, there's not enough, or money's bad, or bad people have money, or whatever, any thought that's like that has to get exposed, because it can't come with me. If I want that 20 million, those thoughts cannot energetically hold and sustain that 20 million. So they have to get exposed in my face so I become aware of them. And those are what reflections are. So then maybe I might attract someone to say to me like, you have that much money, like that's fucked up. Like, why don't you, like, there are people dying, I might attract that kind of situation. Or I might attract situations where like a big payment comes up and it creates this feeling of like, oh my God, I don't have enough. And it's showing me these beliefs and thoughts that I have within me, that it's giving me an incredible opportunity to heal. Our higher self gives us reflections. That's important to remember too. A lot of people like to think the universe is against me. God hates me. Source hates me. Everyone fucking hates. Universe hates me. I'm unlucky. All these things. The universe and source have their hands out of everyone's lives. Like, because of the universal law that they cannot go against your free will of what you believe to be true. Can source do whatever source wants? 100% source created our souls and source created the universe. Like, source is pretty fucking like powerful. But is source going to put source's hands in your life? No. Because source decided, let's make a universal law that I can't go against anyone's free will of what they believe to be true. Not because I don't want to help them, but because you guys are source. Like, you're source, I'm source, everyone's fucking source. We're an extension of source. We're source experiencing itself. And source is like, bitch, you can fucking co-create your life just like I can fucking create anything, So it's not source of the universe giving you these reflections or giving you these shitty, quote, situations. It is, we decide we want a new level of something, whatever it is, relationship, money, career, health, XYZ, whatever, just to be happier, whatever. Then what gets exposed is anything that's within us, our beliefs, thoughts, programs in our brain, subconscious, that created the old shit that literally cannot come with us if we want to create that new shit. And so we do it. Like, our higher self does it. Our higher self gives us reflections to help get us to that next expansion or quantum leap that we are desiring to go into.
I'm ready for it. I'm like, yes, this is why I'm in UIA.
Meghan always comes with the great questions.
How do we know who is in our soul family? Is there any way to find that out?
Oh, that's a good question. So it's going to be people, like, have you ever seen someone and you're like, oh my God, I just feel like I've seen you before, but you've literally never seen them before? Mm-hmm. Probably your soul family. Okay. If you see someone, like, you know how you said to me, I don't know if we'd be friends, like, if just in passing, but like connecting, like, emotionally or whatever, like online, you're like, oh my God, like, I like really vibe. Like, that's, if you just instantly kind of feel that connection, you probably soul family, or soul cousins, or kind of some kind of soul family situation.
That's
like
cool.
Some kind of situation. So, like, one of my best friends, John, the first day I met him, I'm like having a sleepover with him. And I mean, he's gay, so like, I'm not like a random dude. I'm like having a sleepover with him. But like,
judgment here. I just was listening to the story. She's like, hey.
By the way, the first day I met him, we are just fucking in love with each other. I go and sleep over at his apartment, like the same day I meet him. Like just some random like, guy I just met. And we fell in love and we're still best friends to this day. And it's like that. It's like soul family. And when I actually looked into our souls, we were twins in a past life.
Cute.
So, and anyone can do that. Anyone can look into soul contract when you know how, and soul family and stuff like that when you have the right tools. So, yeah, it's just feeling like, oh my God, I feel like I know you, but you literally don't. Or you feel like you recognize someone. You're like, where do I know you from? But like, you've never actually seen them before.
Crazy.
They just look familiar.
Yeah.
You know, like you just like look familiar to me.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's so cool. Okay. I do have this question about people that are gay.
Yeah.
Are they just attracted to the other soul and the physical body doesn't matter?
Oh, good question. So being gay is two things. It could either be a soul choice or it could be a manifestation from trauma that they've experienced. And nothing's better, worse, or bad, or good. It's just some souls actually it's chosen. They choose it. And that's like what they're, then they also know that they're coming back with maybe a soulmate or someone that they're supposed to be with who is also gay or whatever. Or I see this more in women than I do in men. And this is not a blanket statement. This is not everyone. This is just a few things of what I've seen is some women, not all, some are not, it's not a soul choice. And it's also not even like a human choice until they're way in their 30s, 40s, 50s. And that usually is a manifestation of trauma from men.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I always feel interested in like, you know, when you're just like attracted to someone, like you're just so like, you're like, whoa. And you're like, it's just crazy. Cause then I'm thinking like, is it a soul family? Is it like I'm attracted to their soul? Am I attracted to like being friends with them? Or like, what am I feeling? Like, that's just like, you're like, do I love your energy?
Yeah. That's a really good point. And that is what will attract you to like friendships and stuff. Like even Nikki, you know, like he's an incredible friend. I feel called to him like on just like a soul level, but there was never with either of us ever like a like romantic thing. So that is like a soul family thing and like a thing of like your souls are a match to each other. But what will determine who you're romantically connected to is that soul chooses that before they even come here, or it's a physical manifestation of a trauma. I have never seen it with men, but I've seen it with women, which is interesting. Mm-hmm.
That is
now, I'm not saying that like it's not with men, but I personally haven't seen it or experienced it.
I'm convinced everything's from trauma. So when you said that, I was like, yeah, that checks out.
Yeah, a lot of, I mean, so much stuff's from trauma that we don't even like realize.
Well, one of my other questions was about intrusive thoughts. Do you feel like those are trauma-based? Where did they come from? Can you stop them? Because full transparency, I was terrified. I was like, what if I have an intrusive thought and I'm like, Allie's talking too much, but I like don't really mean that.
Yeah.
And then you read my mind and you're like, but who asked her to be here? And I was like so scared because I'm like, thank God people can't read my thoughts. Like if you knew what was happening in here. And then I'm like, I'm going to meet Allie. Someone help me. Oh my gosh. So I'm very curious of like, I've done a lot of like nervous system regulation, a lot of trauma work, and I felt that it's gone down so much. So I'm curious where you think that comes from.
Yeah. So it could be a few things. Intrusive thoughts could be trauma that you've experienced that like hasn't left the body yet. That's kind of been also suppressed. Like if we ignore and suppress our trauma or our sadness or our anger, we think like, oh, it's not there. Oh, it's there. It's in there. And that will then have to come out in different ways. If you're not letting it come out just as it comes up and like letting it come out, leave the body, come out, leave the body, just taking a backseat and witnessing it, it has to come out some other way. in illness, in disease, in body ailments, in thoughts, in depression, in anxiety, in intrusive whatever's going on. Could be that, or it could be like dark forces. It could be dark energy. So just for anything, like, you know how in the physical world we have like parasites and flies and like stuff like that. There's that in the energetic space too, in the energetic realms, just like energetic parasites, just like dark things that like don't need to necessarily be there, and they feed off of like higher frequency souls and light, and so those could get on us, and that could also be a part of the intrusive thoughts. Like I had someone come to me, she was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. I look at her and I immediately go, no, you weren't. Like, no, you're not. I mean, no, you were, but like, no, you don't have it. And I go, oh, I see what's going on. Clear her of just like the dark stuff that's going on. It's super easy, and like it's not a big deal. Like some people are like, you have to do the sage and you have to get the crystals and you have to. No, you do energy work, and all energy work is guiding light into cells. You just do some energy work, and it was gone, and she was fucking fine. Like this girl was fucking literally fine. And so now I'm like, how many people are getting diagnosed with this shit, and it's really not that, you know? And I have people come to me, like I just had this one client who I fucking love. She comes to me and she's like, I want to get off my antidepressants and my anxiety medication. I go, oh, fucking easy. You're just so disconnected from your soul, from the attributes you have. Your self-image is in the fucking toilet trash can. It's literally in the negatives. We got like some brain reprogramming tools, reprogram the neural pathways around self-image. And she literally, in just the one session, she starts going, oh my God, I feel like I just took an depression medicine. And I'm like, yeah, I'm like, this is how you're gonna get off. And so then I channel like what dosage to go down to and kind of like start to wean people off while they're doing this. Like I never make anyone just like go cold turkey before their brain's programmed in a different way. But yeah, it's like you are not anxiety, you're not depression, you're not intrusive thoughts. Like those are all a byproduct of something. So what happens is we're taught to we sit in therapy for 10 years and we spin our wheels and we keep ourselves in the same loop of the same story over and over again because we're never getting to the root cause. Anxiety isn't the root cause. There's another emotion under that that's the root cause that manifested the anxiety. Like depression isn't the root cause. Like for this girl, she just didn't fucking appreciate or see any quality about herself, insanely hard on herself, also thinks she's like, could not see her physical beauty at all, and she's stunning. And it's never the thing that we're trying to heal. Wherever the problem is not the problem, and it's not where the problem stemmed from. It's always something else. It's always from a different area. It's always a deeper emotional root cause. You heal the emotional root cause, it domino affects everything else, because these things they're manifesting into the physical, and it never starts there. Never starts there. So anything you can heal. Is there
like a percentage of people that like their soul contract, or they come down and they want depression, or maybe their bodies like physically are just lower in dopamine or serotonin?
Souls will choose, I'm going to pick these parents that are going to make me feel this way, that's going to cause me to create my own belief, that's going to cause me to then manifest anxiety and depression, that then I can, the goal of the soul is to heal it, shift through it, to raise in soul frequency. That's the goal. Human self takes over a lot, and we just don't get taught or find the right tools, or we get stubborn, or we get in this belief of I can never heal this. Well, if we're in a belief of I can never heal this, you're not going to be in alignment to come across someone that could maybe give you the tools to heal it.
That's where I found you, because I was like, if this is the last thing I do on earth, I am healing this crap. I am done with it.
Yeah.
The amount of therapists, people, courses I've taken and years, I was like, this is the last straw. This is like my Hail Mary thrown in the last straw. This is Allie. So here we are. Praise God. It worked.
Thank you so much. Well, that's a lot of times, sometimes people find me as like their first thing they've ever tried. A lot of people find me as like the last, like I'm trying, like nothing else fucking worked. Let me go try this, you know? Like I've never heard of it. Let me go fucking try it. You know, what the fuck is there to lose at this point?
Yeah.
And that's when you have these immense shifts because, oh my God, I mean, you go to therapy and you're like for years and years and years, and all you're doing is talking yourself into the same story. That's not healing you. That's not helping you. Like you've got to reprogram the neural pathways in your brain. You've got to suffocate the ones that are telling you the story. You stop feeding them. You've got to remake ones that are creating a new reality, a new way of feeling that you desire to feel and create. And it's that easy. Like, it's literally it's neuroscience tools. So you know this, but like, I'm using intuition to see what the fuck the problem is and where. And then I'm bringing in neuroscience tools to actually reprogram the brain and to actually get you feeling more in alignment with higher self and your potential and all the things that you want to create. So yeah, I don't know where I was going with that. I'm like, you got me on this whole thing with this question. I don't even know what the first question was.
And that's why you should join UIA. Okay. Okay, so this is interesting. As far as energetics go, how much can someone else change yours? For instance, I told you, I asked my higher self, I was like, hey, I have the weekend off. Should I work? She said no. And I was like, weird, because I'm a server. So the weekend money's the best. And I was like, I'm out here listening. I'm trusting. Let's see what happens, sis. And so then I was like, should I get an Airbnb and do a staycation? She said yes, which you told me, like, don't test this girl. She will come for you. Like, she'll start messing with you. But I was just like feeling squirrely. I was like, okay, do I still get the Airbnb? She said no. And I was like, all right, maybe she's messing with me because I asked her twice, but that's cool. You think she'd know me better. And so she said no, so I just trusted it. And then you reached out a couple days later and were like, hey, can you do the podcast? And I go, this is why I wasn't supposed to work or like go anywhere. So I'm curious, like, was it cool? And then your energy and you were like, oh, I'm doing the podcast. So it like swirled around and they started chatting and then everything shifted. Like,
yes,
is that, okay.
Literally yes. Literally yes. That is why I say, like, you know, when someone asks me, like, what's the timeline for this?
Oh.
I'm like, there are 100 billion, gajillion, trillion, whatever timelines and possibilities. And it's dependent on your decisions. It's dependent on your decisions, thoughts, beliefs, and actions. So if, like, why you got a yes is because that was probably before I was even going to do this in person. And then when you got a no, it was probably when I've decided I wanted to do this in person. Or like I was put on the path to then think of that thought, you know? And, but if and it's not me, it could be you, it could be anyone. Like, I'm not like the one who holds the fucking power, by the way. Like, this is anyone's thoughts. Just using myself as an example, but this is for everybody. But like, if I would have, you know, not wanted to record a podcast this week or not had this idea, you probably would have got a yes to go and never have then gotten a no. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and that's the same thing for you. Like, you could have a decision that makes someone else's decision different. That's a whole fucking rabbit hole. Time doesn't exist.
I think I have another question about that. And I was like, I don't know how to understand this. So we'll get back into that in a second.
Okay.
So I'm curious. I know you talk a lot about karma. We don't have to get into soul karma. But as far as like, did society, like the government, someone program karma into us? And if why so? Because it feels so real. I'm like, I need to be a nice person so that it comes back to me. I know that's not a thing, but like karma, did they and why?
Oh, like who programmed that idea?
Yeah, where'd that come from?
Yeah, that's so, oh my God. You have the good fucking questions. No one's asking this. Okay. So you know this, but just for context, like karma doesn't exist.
Yes.
Soul karma does, but that's like from past lives and that carries with you if you didn't heal something or whatever. But karma of like, oh, I tripped Meghan today, so then I got tripped a week later,
right,
or something bad happened to me a week later. That doesn't exist. Because again, that would mean that source's hands like in your life. What exists is what's programmed in our creator field is what we're going to get. So you know the saying, like, treat other people how you want to be treated. Like, yes, obviously don't be a fucking asshole, but also treat yourself the way you want to be treated, and that's how you're going to get treated. So karma doesn't exist. And that's why when I was little, I always had this hard time of like, why, I was so sensitive. And I was like, why do good or bad things happen to good people? And I was like, this person, the nicest like teacher that I knew in like 5th grade, like the kindest, sweetest soul, died of cancer. And I'm like, and I was like very close with God. I just felt very connection to God when I was younger. I didn't like know why or how, but I would like pray and be like, God, why did you let that happen? You know, because you don't know, you're little and you don't know this belief and or this actual like universal law. And I'm like, God, why did you let that happen? Like, she's so nice and she was always so kind. She had a son, all these things. And I remember just being so upset about it all the time. And then when I started to like channel it from source and see all this information and kind of have these like eye-opening things of like how the universe actually works. And again, the more you know, the more you don't know. So I don't know really how it works. I just know what I know, which the more I learn, I'm like, fuck, the more I don't fucking know. But when I started learning, like, and really realizing this stuff and like the veil came down, you know how people take ayahuasca or shrooms or whatever? I don't, but I've heard the veil comes down, right? But like you can do that with intuition. You don't need those things to do it. So the veil came down for me just with tapping into my intuition. I was like, oh, this is how it works. So it's not that, you know, God lets bad things happen to good people. It's that a lot of good people are so kind and so loving and they prioritize themselves last. They prioritize everyone else above themselves. And if they're putting everyone else first, then what's in their creator field then? Like, I'm not a priority. Then people aren't treating them the way then they're treating other people. I can prove karma is not real right now. How many of you have been so kind to someone and then you don't get that kindness back from them or from someone else? You know, like how many times have you just given and given and given and then you feel like no one ever gives to you? Proof right there that karma doesn't exist, that karma is not a thing.
So was that like intentional for like someone to think, oh, let's have this brilliant idea so they don't put themselves first? So it's like always like a giving and we're not like taking care of ourselves first.
Yeah, it was created to, the belief of karma was programmed into our brains to create a disconnect of power from ourselves. Anything that's been programmed into us, it's been to disconnect us from our power.
I'm seeing that the more that I learn from you.
Yeah.
I'm like, oof, this is getting
massively,
to me.
Massively. I mean, Democrat, Republican, fucking this, that, abortion, no abortion. Like, they have everyone fighting about stuff, you know? Like, whatever it is that you, like, have a belief toward, everyone's, like, fighting about it, right? And it's, what is that doing, though? Like, what is getting in a fucking argument about it constantly doing versus everyone just taking radical responsibility going, what's my intuition telling me? Like, what's intuition saying in this situation, you know? And it's just a bunch of reflections that everyone's getting from each other on both sides of everything. Like, the best thing you can do is be neutral about the whole fucking thing and see. Don't get me started on that. I'll stop on that vein.
Okay. What advice would you give to someone maybe who's not doing this work, or maybe they're at the beginning stages, who feels depressed or having suicidal thoughts? I know you touched on it a little bit, but like say they don't have the resources to come to you and do a private, like where can they start? Yeah. I mean, if you feel drawn to the work that I do and my work, start on the podcast. Like start on the podcast, I sit there and just create like 6-minute TikTok videos that are just up there for free. I have a 5-day free workshop that's on the podcast, Get Unfucked. On day 3 of that last time, someone was like, oh my God, I'm gonna come off my anxiety medicine. I'm like, okay, go for it. Like, that sounds fun. So like that, you'll have more, if you feel called to me or whoever you feel called to, go find like mine or their free content. There's a lot, I can speak for myself personally, there's a lot of stuff in the podcast, a lot of information that you can take on and absorb in there. Good stuff. For sure. I know that actually the Unfuck Yourself, the 5-day really helped me. I realized way later after I took it that it helped with a lot of like the shame and the guilt that I'd had from like the Catholic Church. I was like, I just feel freer and lighter. It was funny because I was salty because I was like, you were like, this girl manifested $2,000 and she just took my 1-hour workshop. And I was like, I hate her. Where's my $2,000? I'm ready. I want it. And then you'd be like, this other girl, she got her dream job, day 2. And I was like, okay, day 3, it's me, y'all. And then after day 5, nothing. And I was like, some bullshit. Should I even take this UIA? I don't know. It doesn't work for me. But like, where's my $2,000? Where's my $2,000? I'm waiting patiently, not patiently. And so then, but after I like calmed down and had some time to reflect, I was like, wow, that is crazy. Just even learning from you and hearing all that stuff. I was like, I just had this immense like shame and guilt. And so much of it came off just listening, like like you even saying like God doesn't come down and he's not like you're screwed and you're not and he didn't pick you. And I think that that's how much I felt like, oh, I'm the screwed one. And you're like, that's not how it works. And it just like fell off. So even just watching that is a good start.
Yeah, for sure. Because if you can even just grasp that, like, I'm not the screwed one and no, like, I'm not the one who's losing and everyone else is winning. Like, if you can just grasp that, that's already going to domino effect and change so much for you in your life. And it's not your fault that your brain is literally, everyone, not you, everyone's brain is programmed to be a victim. Like, it's...
Why is that?
To take you away from your power. Yeah. I mean, you are
so
immediately...
you were born that way. It's just the programming that was put on us.
Yeah, no. I mean, look at little kids. They're
so cute.
They're so cute. I mean, kids under like 4, they're not programmed yet. And if you see them, they'll fall, they'll cry and get it out, and then they're fine. You know, they're not programmed yet to like, oh, hold it in. Don't scream like that. If as adults we could just walk around and it was like socially acceptable to just scream real quick when we're pissed, like wherever we were, we could get it out of our system and it wouldn't be stuck in there anymore. You know what I mean?
I'm just visualizing people at a restaurant like, ah! Anyway, I'll take the sushi.
Like, that's how I wish it was set up. You know? Because you get it out.
Yeah.
The victim stuff is just a program to keep you away from your power in Stockholm syndrome, like to basic, which if it's to fall in love with your captor is Stockholm syndrome. So it's like, oh, my mom is, putting this program into me of, I don't know, like nothing's fair. We're not the rich ones. Everyone else is rich. That just wasn't in the cards for us. And then you're simultaneously like, then expecting someone to come in and save you and give you money and you know what I mean?
It's really weird when you put it that way.
Yeah.
We're so programmed, we're like, that's society.
Yeah.
Okay, so you say there's about 12 to 20 universal laws. What's the first one that people should learn?
Ooh, okay. I love all of them. Well...
But, like, you can't start with law of action because you say you want to get your energetics right. So I'm curious if there's, like, step 1, step 2, pick your top, like, 2, 3 favorite universal laws.
I have so many favorites. I guess my favorite is the law of reflections.
Okay.
Like, however you're being toward yourself is how people are going to be towards you and what you're going to experience in the world. You can master that. You can create whatever you want because reflections are just...
I feel like I finally just got it this past week. Like... just finally like changing. I was like, all right, let's see if this stuff works. Like the whole, like, we'll have to make a separate video about the suing situation.
Yes. Wait, can we
yes.
share that?
Yeah, I don't care.
Okay. So wait, Meghan comes to me in Unfuck Yourself Academy live literally last week, a week ago.
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago. Okay. And,
or it was a week ago. Yeah. My bad.
Okay. What did you tell the story?
So I had 2 of my ex-roommates and they're like, hey, someone came to the door, was like kind of, one was a cop and one was like asking all these questions. This other person like asking where you were and like being kind of aggressive. And I was just like, had this immense like anxiety wash over me. And I was like, I don't know what that means. Am I getting served? Or what do they want? This is creepy. I don't know. And so then I was like, let's see what Allie has. And I was like, thank God we have our live tomorrow. So then I asked you, I'm like, hey, am I getting sued? What's the situation? Can we like reverse this before it happens? And you said, don't freak out. You're an 89% match to get sued. And you're like, okay, but instantly now you're 62. And I was like, but for me, it's more like I have more anxiety in the not knowing. So when you said, oh, yes, you're being sued, I was like, okay, well, that's what these crazy people are here doing. And then you said, so it's gone down. And you're like, here's how you switch it. And I was like, all right, well, she says it's going to work. What do I have to lose? And it was kind of weird because I typically am like, I have to do the most. I have to put in the hardest work and do all the things. I'm not kidding you, forgot that I was even being sued. Like a day later, I was just like, haha, this is so funny. So every time I thought about it, I laughed. I wrote down what you said to do, the reprogramming of like these micro moments of how I'm perfect, like not accusing myself anymore of like financial things. And then a week later, we were on the membership call, and I don't know, something just said, check your email. Because I'm literally glued to you. Like, even listening to other people's questions, I'm like, oh my gosh, what is she going to say for them? Something in me was like, check your email. And I was like, all right. Check it. And I get this like letter like, oh, we dropped the case. And I was like, okay. And Allie's like, and thank you for everyone for coming. I was like, real quick, you have to hear this. So they dropped it.
When I tell you I screamed.
We both screamed. We were like, wait, it worked. Oh my God.
That's to dive into that on an energetic level, what I was doing was I was reading Meghan's creator field, what she was broadcasting out that would make her an energy match to for someone to sue her.
And is the percentage, is that just like practice with how you do that? Like how important is that? Because you're like 89%. I'm like.
Yeah, so I measure it. I measure like the scale of like how much of a match you are to getting sued. And that way I can see like how high it is. I mean, what I say, 83?
89.
89? Yeah, I mean, that's like, you're getting sued if you're 89% match to get sued. So then I was like, okay, what's the emotional root cause of this? And what's great is with intuition, we can stop things before they happen. So Meghan didn't have to get sued to learn this lesson. We got to catch it before it happened. And then she could learn the lesson before. And that's the power of intuition, which anyone can learn the right tools and techniques to tap into. It's not just, I'm not fucking, special. It's like anyone can learn those tools. So I looked at her creator field and I was like, okay, what is this emotional root cause it's radiating from her that it's making her match for this? And I was like, oh, what I say accusing, when I channel, I forget. Accusing yourself.
Accusing yourself, and especially in like a financial situation. And I was like, is she reading my thoughts? I was like, does she have cameras in my house? I was like looking around like, hello?
Like, where are these cameras? Yeah, so exactly. And I look at like where she's doing it, what area of life, and I would see she was like massively 89% accusing herself, like that extreme out of 100% being the highest of just things that she's not financial, like with how she's looking at her finances and everything like that. So I was like, okay, let's reprogram this and shift this. I gave her a tool to reprogram. What tool did I give you?
You said find micro moments where you're perfect, and then also stop accusing yourself. And I said, all right. Got it. We'll do it.
Yeah, so finding the micro moments is like finding the actual memories of how you're just perfect right now, right? And that's how we reprogram the subconscious in the brain. That then reprograms our creator field. She did that. A week later, she tells me in another Q&A that they dropped the lawsuit. And that's the power of energy work and knowing how it works and intuition, because you need intuition to like fully be able to do that.
Yeah, it was wild because I was like, this is what I've wanted my whole life. Like, I literally forgot about it and didn't do like that many of the tools because it felt like you just said it and it like fixed me. And I was like, I wish everything could be like this. Allie just tells me and then it's fixed. I don't even have to really do a whole lot of work. And I was like, that was nice.
We love that. We love the easy shifts.
Okay. So this one like kind of blew my mind. And I watched the movie Interstellar and they're talking about like how you're talking about earlier of like time and everything can be you just have to go into the whatever, pick it. So obviously that was the timeline it happened, but when I looked back at the thing, it dated back to like they dismissed the case like the day before I asked you. So I was like kind of creeped because I was like, what if I would have kept accusing myself? Then would like the letter not have come? Would they have kept coming after me? Like what does that look like?
Okay, so let me get this straight.
So like the 21st, they dropped the case, but it was like the 22nd that I asked you like, hey, what's up? I think I'm being sued. And you're like, you are. And then I do all the energy work, but I don't find out a week later.
Interesting. Okay, so that would be your higher self setting up something to get you to... And you missed that email because if you missed that email...
I didn't get the email. They had like physically mailed it to my old address. So then my old roommate got it, scanned it, and she emailed it to me. So it was like a physical like paper that they mailed out. Okay. And then, so obviously that has to come in the mail, but it was dated the 21st, which was before the call, our first call.
Of them dropping it.
Okay. They said it's been dismissed. So I was like, I'm kind of creeped out right now.
So you weren't a match energetically to get the letter of them dropping it until you shifted that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if they still dropped it, you would then still be getting reflections of your creator field still being 89% accusing yourself of stuff. And it could have been something more
them
annoying.
or something else.
It could have been them or something else. Yeah.
I'm learning. Okay, so you've talked about how you love praying to God. I'm super curious what that looks like for you.
Oh wow. Okay, that's a good question.
Whatever you're comfortable sharing, but tell us all.
So, I'll tell you everything.
Okay, great.
So it's funny, I don't like sit there and like pray like with my hands like this and like just like pray. And
that's what I imagine, on your knees.
Be on my knees praying. I just feel like I'm in a constant conversation with God/source. I say God in my own life, but I just say source because everyone says something different. But like when I drive in the car, I'm not like Christian necessarily, but I play Christian music.
I do too.
And
I love
so
it.
Good. Like, what the
I was
fuck?
on the way here. I was like, boop, boop, tap, tap.
Yes.
It's like on the way to see Allie. Amen.
Amen. Preach. Amen.
I went to church Wednesday night. It was all like worship music, and I was like, okay.
Where do you
this
go
is
to church
different.
around here?
Church home.
Oh, I know that one. I've been there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
I love that.
Yeah, they just did a worship night, and I was like, oh, okay, not what I expected, but here we are.
Like, here
bopping along.
we're going.
Let's do it.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I love that. Yeah, I would always go for the worship. I just like the singing part. Like, wow. I mean, in the Bible, when I've like looked at, and again, anyone can do this. Like, I feel weird like saying this about the Bible, but like anyone can see this with their intuition.
Tell us.
Like in the Bible, the amount of information that's wrong is a lot. It's like 78%.
Oh.
But then there are those golden nuggets in there. Mm-hmm. There's some really good gold. I have one tattooed on my Joshua 1:9.
Read that.
I know, it's white ink. I know.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's wild. No one ever sees it. It's there. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So which one is that?
That's don't have fear. I'm with you wherever you go. And there's a whole story behind that, but yeah, so there's some golden nuggets that are in there that are really good, like really high frequency, like the actual truth of like Jesus. And then there's a lot of other stuff in there that's man-made and written literally to keep you disconnected from your own intuition, to make you feel like you have to go to church and hear and talk to God through someone else and not be able to like trust your own thing.
The Catholic Church.
Yeah. Oh yeah, massively.
My whole life. Yeah.
Massively.
It wasn't until
Massively.
like meeting you and doing the work that I like finally feel calm and more connected to my intuition, because I was so indecisive all the time and just like, oh, should I go to church? I'm not reading my Bible, and is this? And like, I was the girl that would call 7 friends, ask them the same question, and then still be like, I don't know. I still don't know what to do. They all said the same thing. I think the same thing, but all 8 of us could be wrong. I don't know.
Yes. No, literally. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, because then like if you're thinking of this of like, oh, what would God say or what would God do? Am I going to get punished by God?
Yeah.
Like, God loves you just as much as he loves the fucking person who just murdered 55.
But actually, I'm kind of one of his favorites.
I'm God's favorite.
Sorry.
Like, I mean, yeah, like, it's wild. I just said he, but God's like they. Like, it's no, like, there's no gender. But, yeah, like, Source loves the person who murdered 500 people just as much as Source loves the person fucking feeding 5 million people who can't feed themselves. Yeah, yeah.
Crazy. Okay. Oh, I love this one. As far as sex goes, like intercourse, what happens to our souls when we have sex? Is it the same as oral?
Oh, that's a good question. What happens to our souls? Like
you've briefly mentioned it, like it's very energetic. Like to me personally, like I feel so emotional. I feel so like it's just like an energy like exchange. And there's like these memes where you like have sex with the wrong person. There's demons on your back as you're like taking it from them. I'm like, oh, fuck
I call them
that.
sexually transmitted demons, STDs.
No, but
Like
literally.
demons.
But literally.
Yeah.
So I was just wondering if you can like go into that, and then like there's some people that like, oh, like doing oral sex isn't as like personal and isn't as much of an energetic exchange. Curious the truth on all of that.
Yeah, so we'll look into oral together because I've never looked into that. But with the exchange, it's a massive energy exchange. Like you are taking on that other person's energy and you are giving them your energy. It's like, if I'm looking at it now, measuring, it's like 82% of like a massive, like you're giving them yours, they're giving you theirs. So you can do energy recoveries, which, but most people don't know how to do that. And if you're watching porn and you're like orgasming, you've just now exchanged your energy with these people that you don't even know. And now you have their energy on you. It's not only is it terrible for your brain, that's a whole other thing, but like it's also equally horrible for your energy.
I'm speechless. Okay. I'm going to move on so I can talk. So I just have a tangent. This is my friends and I for years. Like, I hate when people act as if they're like, oh, if you want to be rich, just act as if, like, buy the thing. And my friends and I are like, girl, we broke now because we be buying the things and we're not rich. Mm-hmm. And you finally put it into words. I was like, what is everyone not telling us? And you're like, have the energy as if. And I was like, okay, Allie did it, finally. So with that, how do we get into, like, I want the thing, but I don't need you, the energy, like, really quickly if we feel called to something?
Mm-hmm. You want to go to break down, like, why do I want this? Do I want this purse because it's going to give me status, because it's going to make me look a certain way, because it's going to bring me value? We never really want the actual thing. We want how we think it's going to make us feel. So, like, literally, even as basic as, like, a purse. Right? Go, okay, like I wouldn't let myself, I'll give my own example. I wouldn't let myself get a new car. I drove a Hyundai around way longer than I had to. I wouldn't let myself get a Mercedes until I felt like I wasn't getting it for any other reason other than just like a neutral celebration of like my hard work. Because up until that, I was embarrassed for part of time to drive in my Hyundai, and I was embarrassed to get in and out of it, and I was embarrassed. I was like, oh my God, these people are going to think that, even when I had no money, I was like, they're going to have no money. And I'm like, oh,
they're
that's
gonna
true.
know.
Like, they're going to know. And then even when I did start cultivating that in my life, like, I was then really embarrassed. I'm like, oh my God, like they're not seeing all my hard work and they're not seeing what I can do and like blah, blah, blah. And it was just such this fucking human ego thing. And so I refused to let myself get, like I drove that Hyundai till last year. So I refused to let myself get a new car until I was getting it from a neutral place of just like a celebration, like, what are you gonna do? Just fucking die with the money you make, right? Like, so till I was like a neutral thing. Because before it was always for some kind of external perception.
When you pull up to valet.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Valet. Oh my God. Yeah. That big one.
You're on an air one. You're like, here's my Hyundai.
Yeah. Here. Don't look at it.
I'll be back.
Yeah. And like, I'm like, what the fuck does this mean about anything, right? It doesn't. It's just a program that it's put on us. So it's like, I got clear. I'm like, okay, what do I think this fucking car is going to bring me? And I'm like, oh, value. It's going to make people think that I am good at what I do. That was a big one. Like, if you're good at what you do, you make money. If you make money, you get nice things. So, okay, I'm clearly a little bit disconnected from my value and being good at what I do. So I emotionally connect to that. And then you no longer want these things. And then if you feel a soul authentic pull to get them, that's from a neutral place. It's like more of a soul desire versus it is a human want.
Definitely a masterclass here. I'm also learning. Why do people stop and start when they're going after their dreams? Like, how can they stop self-sabotaging?
Usually it's because they see quote overnight success, like on TikTok, or overnight success, and they're not seeing like the fucking 10 years it took that other person to like get that thing. Or if it didn't, and you see like an actual overnight success, where the fuck is that person a few months later? Nowhere to be fucking found. It's not sustainable because their creator field hasn't been programmed to be able to hold that energy. It's like, I can't just go to the gym for the first time ever and lift a 500-pound weight above my head. I have to go lift a 5-pound weight, 10-pound weight, 20-pound weight, work my way up. Same thing with your energy. If you are just instantly, let's use famous overnight, you don't know what the fuck you don't know how to hold that energy. I mean, look at like all these childhood, you know what I mean? All these childhood things, like you don't know how to sustain that in a balanced, neutral way where you're not also fucking going crazy, like in your brain, you know? And rightfully so, look what everyone has been put through, but they didn't know how to sustain a certain energy, right? So like anyone who is having that overnight success overnight, like where the fuck is that Cash Me Outside girl from Dr. Phil? Where'd she go?
I don't even know who that is.
Oh, there was a girl on Dr. Phil. Jesse, do you remember her? There was a girl on Dr. Phil.
I have no idea.
Jesse,
like gonna look her up.
Jesse
show
knows.
us later.
There's a Cash Me Outside girl from Dr. Phil, and she was like, Cash Me Outside, how about that? You know, like she had this, like, I can't do the accent. I sounded like Southern, I don't know what I was trying to do. But she blew up overnight. I don't know, where the fuck is she? I haven't heard of her since a few weeks after that happened. It's not, like you haven't programmed your beliefs, your creator field, your energy to have the muscles to hold that such density of something. And not density in a bad way, just density of something. So, and then the people you're seeing who have the success, who they can sustain it, that was built on like 10 years of work that you're not seeing. We're getting Amazon packages in 2 days. Like everyone wants their fucking shit like right now. And it's just not like, if you're asking to manifest and create massive things in the physical world, like that's not gonna happen even in a year, you know? And I don't wanna be like, anything can happen in a year, but I'm not, like anything's possible. But that's a lot of pressure to put on yourself, a lot of pressure, and a lot of, if you're putting that much pressure on yourself, then you're for sure not getting in a year because
I think I was putting a lot of pressure on myself, and I realized, oh my gosh, I don't know where I got 2 weeks from, but I decided if something, whatever it is that I want, if it does not happen in 2 weeks, it's not happening, just give up. And I also don't know where I got that number. And I was like, Amazon comes in 2 days. Like I'm going through all the things, like microwave is 30 seconds. Where did I get 2 weeks?
Like, where's 2 weeks from?
But I will literally go hard at anything. I mean, this took me a week, right? But if it took me 3 weeks, maybe these cards wouldn't be here. I don't know.
100%.
I don't know. But I was like, okay, interesting. Now I know. So let's figure out how to reprogram that.
Yeah. And it's oh my God, like the amount of time it took to heal my self-image to a point where I truly don't, like, I can't even remember feeling a different way, like having a self-deprecating self-image internally. And that was at least a solid 5 fucking years. And yes, it heals like you notice a difference the second you start doing the work. Like you feel a little better. You get off your anti-anxiety medicine. You start to feel a little more confident, but people aren't noticing the little things. You can shift something right now and there can be a noticeable difference. It's smaller, but I call them micro moments. Like maybe no one's ever held the door for you. Now people are holding the door for you because you're being kinder to yourself. But you're not noticing those things. Like people aren't training their brain to notice those things. And then so they think it's not working. And then so they just like give up.
Me.
And then they're like, oh, I didn't get $10 million. I started changing my money beliefs, but I didn't get $10 million in a week. What the fuck? It doesn't work. But what you didn't notice.
She's literally calling me out. She's like, Megan, I can read your thoughts. Stop doing that. And I'm like, okay, so I went to Allie's workshop for an hour and I don't understand. Where's my money?
Where's my 10 mil?
What do you mean my business isn't popping off? Allie, you promised. UIA, I was going to unfuck myself. It's not unfucked. Still fucked.
Because the work isn't in the course, it's in life. Like, it's like the work is in life. The work's not in the course. People buy 5 million fucking courses.
Me.
And it's like, but the work is in implementing what you learned in the course into life. And
you did say that. That was I think my favorite thing that you've ever said is you're like, the biggest flex is like being calm, being neutral. You were like, the meditation is life. You're like, if you go meditate, and I was like, again, she's literally talking to me, guys. This is not for you. You were like, if you go meditate twice a day and then you're like angry every other time or you're not doing the thing, like there's 24 hours in a day. So your whole life is the meditation. And I was like, she's preaching. Okay. She's talking.
I always tell people, don't be like that, like Susan on Sunday at church. Like, you know, and they go and they're like, they're praising Jesus and they're like looking like the most like holy one there. Then 2 hours later, they're like screaming at their kid, yelling at the manager, like hating life and talking shit on everyone, you know? Or they have Matthew 3:18 in their fucking bio, and then they're like making troll comments on everyone's fucking TikTok. Like,
Love those people.
And that's what people do. Like I relate that to like going to a course, doing the homework in the course, being in the course, taking it, but then going into life, dropping every fucking tool you just learned. And it's the same concept. And again, nothing worth having is built overnight. Nothing worth having is built in a year, in 2 years. I'm 9 years into this, and the past year and a half, I'm really feeling like, okay, it has paid off. Before that, I was in the fucking trenches out there, man. But I just knew that, like, I'm like, you gotta keep going. Like, you're just learning more. You're just implementing more. You're just having these things to understand how it all works. And I had this, like, soul pull of, like, keep going, keep going, keep doing it. And past year and a half, I finally feel like, okay, like, I'm seeing the physical big manifestations. Like, there's always little ones. The little ones happen instantly. You shift a belief or a thought, you're instantly now, people are a little bit nicer to you, or they're a little bit more seeing your value. We just fail to miss those things. And the law of focus, what we focus on, we get more of. So you could do all the work till the cows come fucking home, but if you're now going, it doesn't work, I'm not seeing it, well, now that you're gonna keep getting that, you're now undoing all the work you just did. That's why I teach the micro moments to go, oh, like, that happened here. Oh, it's happening here. Oh, these little tiny things here. And those, they add up, and they create overflow. And so whenever someone, because it's not just you, everyone will be like, oh, I did this for 2 weeks and it's not working. And like, of course your fucking like thyroid isn't healed in 2 weeks. Like, are you kidding me? You're undoing 30 years of shit that made your thyroid fucked in the first place. Like, of course it's not healed in 2 weeks, you know? Because were you in perfect alignment 100% for 2 weeks with the emotional thing you had to shift to heal your thyroid? Also probably not, because we're human, like, we're not supposed to be.
Something that I do admire about you is you're like, I'm always learning, have a growth mindset.
Yeah.
I feel like people don't talk about that as much. They kind of get to like a certain status, and I get it. You want to be seen as like the professional, the like person, and so they're like selling their course or whatever, and they're like, I'm the teacher, I'm the master. Mm-hmm. And so it's kind of like they're up here, and then it makes you feel bad of like, oh, I have to reach this status until I can like do whatever. And you're like, no, I'm still learning from my teacher. I'm always growing, and then I'm teaching you guys, like, come along. And I'm like, I could do that.
Yeah. Like, if you put yourself on a pedestal like that, the world always has to be in balance, so people are going to take you down. So, you know how a certain famous family puts themselves on a pedestal with looks, with outfits, with everything, like, can never not look perfect. How many people are shitting on them with one bad photo? If they would just like show up, you know, and like, you know, look good and do their thing, but also show the other side, no one would be shitting on them with a bad photo. But because they put themselves on this pedestal, the universe is out of balance, and the universe has to be in balance. So because they're on a pedestal, someone has to come balance them out and take them off. So the worst thing you can do is put yourself on a pedestal. One, because people are then gonna like feel like trash, and then they're not gonna do as good as they could in your program. And two, there's no fucking pedestal to put yourself on, because no one was fucking born on a pedestal.
Calm down.
Like, calm down. And
I think that's something that's been programmed in us. And I'm like, okay, I need to
Mm-hmm.
unlearn that for sure.
Yeah. No one's on a pedestal. Like, no one's better. No one's worse. No one's on a pedestal. Everyone's the fucking same. It's just what we believe to be true is what's going to be true for us. It's not the actual truth, though.
So crazy. Speaking of, how creepy. So you say whatever you want, take off the pedestal so that your energy is in alignment for it. But I'm sure I've gone through this. I'm sure other people have. Like, when you feel like melancholy, like, how do you still have that drive? Because you say, I get it. You're like, be grateful for what you have. And I'm like, okay, I have a job that pays my bills. I have an apartment. I have enough food. But then you kind of just feel like almost complacent. I'm wondering if that's like just a middle ground before you like feel the drive again, or like, how do you shift out of that quickly?
Like, how do you, cultivate drive?
Yeah, because I feel like for me, I would be like, okay, I want to run this business. I want to do this thing. But I would have like a lot of negative self-talk of like, you have to work harder. You can do this. If you don't do it now, someone else is, and you're not good enough. So let's wake up early. And it would like drive me. And then I'm like, I don't love that about myself. All my friends are like, you are the hardest. You are so hard on yourself. And I was like, okay, so let's shift that. So now I'm like, you're amazing. Everything you do is great. I'm twirling around, but then I'm like, well, then I don't need to do anything if I'm already perfect. But then I'm like, I still want to pursue my purpose, my soul's purpose, but then I don't feel the like oomph as much.
Oh, that's such a good question.
Thank you.
Okay.
Please
Yeah,
help.
this is good. So I used to think exactly what you're saying. Like, if I'm not hard on myself anymore, I'm not going to be the best. I'm not going to be, and this was when I was pro dancing, like, I'm not going to be the best.
Well, I know you talked about, you were like, oh, I shifted it and then it made me more like ready and I did better and I got the audition, I got the part. But then I'm like, I don't feel that. And I'm like, there has to be other people that feel just like, well, now I'm just kind of complacent. So do you have any advice? Like if someone feels that complacency, it's not like an instant. For you, it sounded like an instant, oh, I'm amazing. And then I got the part.
It wasn't instant.
Okay, great.
No,
Okay.
no. When I tell stories, obviously I have to condense them, but like, and I'm not like, oh yeah, and then that took me 6 months and then this, it wasn't instant. It's not, how do I explain this? Like, in your certain case, like what it's showing me is your drive came, which you know, from this, I'm not good enough. But now it never came from a soul pull. My drive now comes from a soul pull. Like I go fucking crazy. I lay in bed at night and it's not like because I have to or because I have anxiety even. It's like, oh my God, I just saw this TikTok, like that's fucking misinformation. Like I gotta get on TikTok, I gotta make this, I gotta tell people what's actually the truth. And like, I literally get this like insane fucking, it's almost annoying sometimes, this soul pull and drive because nothing else drives me anymore. Like accomplishments don't drive me anymore. Like proving something doesn't drive me anymore. So if you feel like nothing's driving you right now, it's just, there's just, not clarity yet around what drives your soul when it comes to career. And that's okay. You don't need that yet. You're finding that. In my thing between when I left dance, between what I'm doing now is like an actual fucking like brand and career, it was years of like, I don't know what the fuck. I don't want to dance, but I don't know what the fuck I want to do. And so I just dove into healing my shit. I dove into training my intuition. I dove into healing trauma. I dove into energy work. I dove into just what lights me up. And I just wanted to master it in myself and heal myself. And me diving into that was me building this brand, because if I didn't do that, how the fuck would I build a brand on it? Like if I didn't go through those things, how the fuck am I? So people think, oh, if I'm not actually directly making something like a tangible, that's an actual business right now, that I'm not doing it, but you are though, because what you do feel drive to is you're in every fucking single live of all the programs.
And literally the first person to ask a question.
Yeah, yeah. And what you do feel drive to is like watching all the programs and listening to them. And and whether it's with me or whoever, like follow that like insane excitement and passion. You made fucking cue cards for here and you're like, we're so happy to be here together. Like follow that passion and your intense craving for knowledge in like what we talk about and whatever else you feel intense craving for knowledge for. That is right now your soul drive, and that is building what you will create.
Okay, hopefully that was really helpful for someone else. While you were talking, I figured out what my problem was.
Yes, what is it?
So I know what my purpose is. Like I feel like insane drive. For a while I was doing the farmer's market. I would wake up at 4 a.m., not need coffee, be like, jump out of bed and like, oh my God, I can't wait to go in this 100-degree weather. Like I've never felt that before in my life, like such purpose. And then I realized I was like, oh, it's because I don't feel like good enough to do what I want to do. And that's why I'm like self-sabotaging, because I'm like, well, what's the point?
Yeah.
If I'm not good enough, like it's just a cycle. So I was like, oh, I'd probably do all the reprogramming Allie talks about.
Yeah. I mean, do yourself a favor and build whatever you're building off of a high self-image. Because if not, you can't sustain it, or it just comes like, or you have it and then you're still not happy, or you have it and it comes crashing down. Like, I can't even tell you the amount of times that's happened that I've seen, like in my own life and with other people. Like when I first started making, I mean, my business just fucking blew up. What seems like overnight, but it was after 4 years of working through some massive money and self-image stuff, like massive. Sounds like it happened fast, but it was 4 years of like reprogramming before it happened what seemed like overnight. And I was like, oh my gosh, like this is great. Well, a year later, 6 months, a year later, I had a dip, and it was like a significant dip, and I was like crying, screaming on my bathroom floor. And I'm like, okay, if this is making me cry and scream on my bathroom floor, I have another problem. Like my value's way too reliant on this. And so then I shifted that, and then ever since then it was like, because I'm not connected, I'm not, this is on a pedestal. This doesn't make me feel like I'm valuable. This is just an extension of like how I already feel valuable. So yeah, that's my answer to that.
I love that. Okay. I feel like, okay. So in a lot of your courses, you talk about like having micro moments, writing down things like attributes about yourself that are great. And you talk about, okay, see the memory and connect the emotion behind it. If someone's having a hard time doing that, whether they're depressed, whether they're just like, I just woke up, I'm tired, I'm not feeling it, what kind of like tips or tricks can you give them to get into that emotion?
Like when they're doing the morning.
Yeah, so you're like, okay, I'm amazing, and I'm amazing because I made these note cards. Great. And so I'm just laying in bed, and I'm like, I made the note cards, but I'm like, cool, I made the note cards. But I'm not like feeling like, good job, amazing, I made the note cards. Like you always talk about, you want the emotion behind it.
Yeah.
So how does someone like get that? Because you say it's not really going to quote unquote work as well if you don't have the emotion behind like the thoughts.
Yeah, you massively want the emotion. I mean,
Right.
The thoughts aren't doing anything unless there's emotion behind it.
I've noticed.
So it's like affirmations don't work.
Yeah.
Affirmations don't work because you're just going, I'm beautiful, and then your subconscious is going, no, I'm not, no, I'm not, no, I'm not. But our conscious and subconscious, they don't speak the same language. So you can't just consciously tell yourself a fucking statement because your subconscious is what's connected to your emotions. You have to emotionally feel it. That's what changes the subconscious. That's what changes the neural pathways. That's what changes how you feel and your creator field and then what you get back. So it's really important you connect to your emotions. So that's almost something deeper, like nothing, it's almost like for you, a deeper belief of like, it's still not good enough. So I would start to like shift that, like, and that you
the
can
exercise?
shift.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I would start to go, okay, I can't, like even me connecting to these times of when I felt this way, like, well, that's not good enough. Making the cards wasn't good enough. Like blah, 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 blah. And it's just this way your brain's programmed right now of like, nothing's ever good enough. So shift that first. Like shift that belief of nothing's ever good enough. So you can do that by the perfect thing. Like how is everything perfect right now? How is what you just did perfect? How is how you're thinking perfect? How is it all perfect? And that's what I would focus on shifting.
Yeah. I think this past week really helped. I feel like I'm getting these like little instances like with the suing. And then I had an incident at work where I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be in trouble. And I said, no, I'm not. Let me do some micro moments real quick. So when I took 20 to 30 minutes, did a whole T chart, wrote down all the ways how I'm perfect at my job and I'm the best. And then like the next day, everyone was like obsessed with me and I didn't get in trouble. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to say that it worked. I think I did that.
It worked. And see, things do shift quickly. That worked in a day.
How? Like this past week, I've done that like a couple times and I'm like, okay, it can work quickly for me. Like I think just all the years of therapy, I'm like, okay, it's gonna take forever and it's never gonna work. And then I'm like, okay, it does work. Like
it does.
Crazy.
Most people though wouldn't see that little micro moment and they'd wait for like the fucking award of the restaurant business to see that it worked.
I think that's how I typically am, but the suing situation was too big for me not to ignore. Higher self was like, okay, girl, let's make some changes.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is like this stuff, you can shift and it starts to work instantly. And so that's why I like the micro moments, is because for people who like instant gratification, I love instant gratification,
Who
you know?
doesn't?
But I'm seeing how it is happening in those little tiny ways. And then like the bigger things come and happen and shift, but you end up not caring because you already feel like you have it.
So cool. This work is so cool.
It's wild.
Okay. So it's really great how you break it down in UIA that you can have something in your soul contract, but you can be so far up your human ass that you believe that it's not true, that you won't get it. So best way to get out of your own ass.
Best way to get your head out of your own ass. Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. Look at the beliefs that you're having that don't feel good in your body. Like, our bodies are intuition too. So if you think something and it makes you feel like close or you want to hunch over, that's not the truth. Like, that's your body literally giving you an intuitive no bitch. Like, this isn't fucking true. Like, if you have a thought and then and it lights you up even a little bit and it makes you feel open, expansive, that's your body's intuitive yes. And that's your ultimate truth. So any thought or belief that you have about like this thing that you want to do but you can't do or whatever, and it makes like, it's not going to feel good. And that's your body's intuition being like, no, this isn't the fucking truth. So that's one way. Another way is a lot of times why people don't go through with what they want is because of comparison. But metaphysically, we cannot see in other people what we don't have in ourselves. It's like literally a universal metaphysical law. We cannot see in other people what we don't have in ourselves. So if you are seeing someone who's out there doing maybe what you want to be doing, or even just really creative or really intelligent, and you're like, oh, well, I can never be on that level because I'm not that creative. Yes, you fucking are, bitch, because you would not be able to see how creative that person is unless you had that within you, like literally metaphysically. And so what you can do is now prove that to yourself, like, okay, well, no, like instead of going, oh, I can never do that because I'm not that creative, it's going, no, where am I creative? Where am I that creative? It doesn't have to mean like this person, maybe you're seeing a painter and they're painting this like really beautiful thing, but you've never painted a day in your life. It doesn't mean that like you're necessarily like the best creative painter, but whatever it is that you feel that soul pull to do, you're just as creative in that. So if I see someone's really creative at songwriting, I'm not a fucking songwriter, but I'm that creative in like branding or what I want to do, or like programs I make or things that I want to do in the future. Just in a different way, but I have that same level of creativeness. If that's even a word. So it's like, instead of going, oh, they're so this, like, of course they're on that level. Like, I could never be that because I don't have that. Well, yeah, you do, because you would not be able to witness that quality in them unless you had it. Then what you want to do is you want to prove to yourself when's the last time you can remember being creative. And not like general, not just like, oh, yeah, I'm creative, like whatever. It's like, no, last fucking Sunday at 12 p.m., I did this, or I said this, or I had this idea, and I felt creative in that moment. Even if it was for 2 fucking seconds, you've got to start training your brain to prove it to yourself. And that's how you can emotionally shift. That's how you massively raise your self-image. And that's what's going to get your head out of your ass.
Thank you. So I love when you say that there's no competition because of our soul contracts. How do we know what's in our soul contracts? You keep talking about the secret contract. I want to know what's in mine. Is that just like more training on intuition?
It is intuition training. It's being able to read the energy of the soul field. So with intuition, I'm reading different fields, like higher self field. We have our creator field, we have our thought field, we have source field, we have our soul field. It's looking and almost like how I see it, it's like literally opening up a contract is what it looks like to me.
That's what I imagine when you say soul contract.
Yeah,
like, I want
it can look different to everyone. Yeah.
Okay.
How to know if you're not like, you know, as fucking diving deep into intuition tools is like I feel like called to do in my life is follow those pulls on a soul authentic level. And don't just do something because someone told you to. So even when I didn't know how to read a soul contract or what a soul contract even fucking was when I was like 18, leaving high school, everyone and their mom was like, go to college, go to college. You're going to fail in life if you don't go to college.
I love this song.
Like my little song I
Yeah.
just made. They're like, go to college or you're going to fail. And I was like, fuck you guys. I'm not fucking going. They would even send me to the guidance counselor. They sent me to the guidance counselor in high school because I like was refusing to go to college. They're like, something's wrong with this bitch. And I was like, who's gonna accept me anyway? I'm getting C's and D's. Like no college. Fucking
Community college.
Yeah, community college. No college wants me. And I didn't fucking care. I was already senior year. Like I was only at school for 2 hours and I was at dance class the rest of the time. Like I would leave early, got my dance teacher to sign off on it. I was out. I was training in dance. So anyway, I didn't know what a soul contract was or how to read one or like what I was supposed to go do. But I followed just like that pull. I had this authentic pull of I just knew I'm not supposed to go to college. Like there's nothing there for me. So many people know that, have that with whatever it is, and they ignore it. They have this soul pull, but they might not know what it is or how to describe it. But they have this like, oh, I'm feeling pulled this way. But they go, oh, nope. Mom, dad, and my teacher told me to go to college, so I got to go to college. You know, and all these limiting beliefs of other people's fucking, I call it group mind. It's a group mind virus. They come in and they affect your decisions. But if no one was going to be mad at you, if no one was going to judge you, if money weren't a thing, if people's opinions weren't a thing, what would you do and do that? That's how you can determine it for yourself.
That seems pretty simple.
Yeah.
Okay. If someone wants to detox from an illness, what is their best place to start? And should you go to someone for help or should you follow your intuition? Because you talk about like, don't go to like a ton of gurus for your own life. Like when are we knowing the difference? Where do we start? Is there anything like start here?
Yeah. So with healing an ailment, there's so many an illness, there's so many components and parts of that. If you actually want to heal it, you've got to go to someone who has a very strong ability to read energy and know what parts of their energy you're reading. Just natural, untrained psychics and intuitives, they don't necessarily know what they're reading, where they're getting it from, XYZ, or how to actually give you tools to reprogram your brain to heal it in the first place. So you've got to go to someone who like has a track record of this working. If you don't know how to use intuition, I would find someone who does for sure. Especially like when you're first trying to heal something, you'll just do it faster.
Faster's good.
Yeah, you'll do it fast. You'll know what's going on. You'll have the full understanding. But just know everything that's going on physically, again, always manifests from a thought. An emotional root cause. And so know that it can be healed. There's nothing that you literally cannot shift.
I love that. I love hearing that. It's not what the doctors are saying.
No, yeah, don't get fucking white coat syndrome. I mean, they're getting paid to
Make you sick.
Make you sick. Yeah.
We won't go down the rabbit hole because I'll be here all day. You'll be like,
Don't
get
take
out.
me down that one. I'll go.
I'll take the mic and be like, so here's what I think. You're like, get out. It's 5:00. Jesse has to leave. Some of us want to pee.
Jesse's like here till 11 p.m. because we're just going down the doctor rabbit hole. He's like, I knew I shouldn't have come here today.
He's like, my intuition said no, and I didn't listen.
For anyone who's listening, Jesse is our camera sound guru man here. I just met him this morning.
He's amazing.
We love Jesse.
Mm-hmm.
Jesse
Already.
didn't know what he was getting himself into coming here.
Now he's like,
Jesse's
did I want to be
probably
here?
scared. He wants to run away.
Texting his mom, save me.
He's like, I don't know what's happening here.
All his friends group chat. The weirdest podcast ever.
He's like, I've never heard this shit. This girl's fucking saying shit that she can channel source. What the fuck? This fucking weirdo.
Or he comes out and he's like, no, yeah, I do that too.
He's like, this all makes sense.
We have a 50-50 shot with Jesse.
We'll have to interview him after, see what his thoughts are.
Yeah. That's a good one. Oh, wait. Oh, like a little clip for like the website. Here's what a new person thought of the podcast. You should listen. That's a good TikTok.
Jesse goes, I'm scared in the video.
That's a good TikTok. We'll get that after, along with my whole suing video. We've got lots of videos. We've got a lot of content today. Okay, so
Oh my God.
how often do you see your healers, Zane and Alessandro, versus looking inward? Like, how do you know when you're like, okay, I'm going to read myself versus no, I got to go to someone else?
Oh, that's such a good question.
Thank you.
Okay, so Alessandro, I call him Al. I was up his ass, not in like a weird way, like not like actually, like
Obsessed with the
just
work.
to preface this, I was obsessed with his work for, I mean, literally, I would go in person to his classes like when I was 19 till when I was 23-ish, 23 and a half probably. And I had to literally cut myself off from him because I was like, okay, I need to do this myself. You know, like I need to go do this myself and take everything he's given me and like implement. And then about a year and a half ago, I like came out from the woodworks and I was like, I'm back. Bet you missed me.
I bet he did.
He's like, this bitch. It's like, I thought I got rid of her forever. And now I've been again just diving into so much stuff again with him, just like taking all my trainings and everything that I've done and channeled on my own to a whole new level. Like taking everything he taught me, then what I kind of did on my own to just a whole new level. And I'm re-obsessed with it again. But it was just time. Like now I'm going back in a very neutral place of I put him on a pedestal for a really long time. Like when I first started learning from him, because I was like, this man knows everything. Like he knows everything. But he didn't teach us how to use intuition for nothing, you know? And so it was, I had to really take all the things that I really opened up and that I've learned and that I also created and channeled myself and whatever, and like make my own thing and do my own thing. And that's when I really like took off. And now I'm back learning from him. I see him maybe like every other week right now.
So is that as far as like you're learning or like a healing? Because I listened to the one you did with Zane. Mm-hmm. And so you're like, I need help with this whole TikTok situation. I'm feeling some reflections. How do you know when to go to one of those two for like you're feeling your own reflections?
Good question. Zane I've been to about 4 or 5 times total. I love Zane. He's an incredible hypnotherapist. I lean toward Al over literally any other teacher or healer. Just of like my own just soul. It's just a soul thing. It's just an intuition thing. And I see Al there. Okay, so I was going through like a dark night of the soul in my relationship recently, just reflection fucking city. And I wanted to just fucking run away and leave and like get my own house and like I'm gonna be like, bye. Like, see ya. But that's like was not what soul or higher self wanted. It's like, it's reflections, you know, it's reflections for him, it's reflections for you. You guys are reflecting each other. So I was like seeing Al literally once a week, like shifting those. And once I shifted one, another one would come up, went back. Once I shifted that, another one would come up. I go to him when I'm highly like that is highly emotional for me. And I could sit there and figure it out. But I read people all day fucking long. Like, I want someone to, like, do it for me, you know?
That's cute. They're like, hold my hand.
Can someone hold my hand?
Thank you.
And Al can do that. And I don't feel that any other teacher than him can do that. Like, I can't, it's hard for me to learn from anyone else.
That's so cool that you have him, though.
Yeah.
And now I have you.
I love that guy. He's coming right here after this.
I can't wait. I screamed when you said that.
If Jesse's scared now, just wait. Jesse's scared now.
What
just
do we
wait
have,
till
10?
he meets Al. 10 minutes, yeah.
Okay, skip that one. Okay, skip that. Hold on. Here we go. All right, I'm just going to be selfish and have you channel a few things for me.
Yes.
Okay, so one thing that I did have you channel, you talk a lot about the emotional, like, root cause of things, but I know there's like a little bit of like physical. So I was talking about how I get this like same illness and it starts like in my nose. If it's too dry, too cold outside, it's the only time it ever happens. But now sometimes I won't get like the full blown illness, but my nose will still hurt. Like it feels raw. It feels like it's on fire. And I'm like, how do I just stop the whole thing? I don't want the physical. I don't want the illness. I don't want any of the things. Like, is there like a physical thing I can do, or is it still something emotional I need to clear?
It's emotional.
I'm telling you, Allie, it's cold outside. And you're like, cool.
Yeah.
Like my nose is on fire. You're like, okay, so you're emotional. Okay.
Even if I'm like, oh no, I'm allergic to the cat, I still made myself a match to be in a house with a cat to give me allergies. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, okay. And you could totally heal a cat allergy, but like there's other things to shift. I don't really care about healing a cat allergy. So for you, let me see. There's like a lack of a filter with thoughts around like struggling. Like you still feel like you're like things are a struggle. And that's what that is. Like everything feels like it's still in there, like 62% that things are hard. Things are a struggle. It's hard for me. It's not easy for me. Why me? Like that kind of.
Sounds so victim-y and gross.
That kind of.
Anyway, we'll move on from
No,
that.
I get it. I understand. We all have victim times.
Okay. I've made up a whole other thing for you. We're going to do like an energetic butt lift for Glow Formula. Okay. So
I've been getting asked about this.
Great. Full transparency. Here we go. Do not care. My right side, like my butt cheek is smaller. It always has been. My ex-boyfriend made fun of me. So how do I get this little bad boy just to even out? Same side. Like, is there something like that you see that I can like, do I need to be working out more? Do I need to work out just the right side? Is it an energetic, you're like masculine is all messed up? What are we?
Yeah, no, yeah. Masculine. Yeah. Okay. So just like how you need ingredients to like bake a cake perfectly, Jesse's like, oh, I'm into this one. Jesse puts his phone down, turns. Jesse's like, I'm gonna tell this to my girlfriend when I get home.
Babe, I got it. Energetic butt lift. You're welcome. Ingredients.
It's like, you're welcome, bitch. I just saved you $20K on a BBL.
Okay, so let's give her the ingredients. So, what do we got?
Jesse, write this down. So there's just like to bake a cake, you need different ingredients for it to actually bake well and be good and taste good.
Actually bake the buns.
Literally, like cake, it's fitting. So didn't even mean to do that, but it worked. So you've got to find the emotional ingredients to first you want to see what's going on emotionally inside of you that's made the one side smaller.
Is it the masculine?
Yeah, we'll get into it in a second. Yeah. And then two, well, let's do that now. You're not literally you're not comfortable around there's some wounds with the masculine like men. And you're not there's like a little bit, the whole thing of like, I hate men, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. There's a little bit of that programming in there. Mm-hmm. 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 And it's ready, like, especially if you're asking for like a healthy masculine man in a relationship, it's why you're like more annoyed with it now than maybe you were before, why you're noticing it now, or maybe even why it's like formed that way now is because it's like higher self's ready to shift. And
it's been there since I can remember, like since high school. But yeah. I mean, you go to personal trainer and they go, let me look at it. It doesn't look any different to me. And I'm like, all right, well, I'm not getting naked at the gym for you, but I'm telling you. And they just go, I don't know, just work out. I'm like, Okay.
Yeah. No, it will once you shift this. Like the working out will then help. It can be like the physical action to take, but it's a lack of comfortability around men when it comes to like feeling safe with them.
Okay. Got it.
And so shifting that, and then also there's ingredients then that you can feel and connect to emotionally for like a bigger butt. So what happens is souls can choose physical things, but if you didn't choose that as a soul, you can still create it by learning how to manifest and learning the ingredients. That will be in the next glow formula, but start there.
Okay.
with
energetic butt lift.
Jesse, tell your girlfriend.
So I'm kind of curious about past lives. Is there any way you can see how many I've had?
I mean, hundreds, thousands. Because lives, we also can live parallel lives. So if you're under the highest frequency you can vibrate at in a human body is 1,000. But about like 86% of the world vibrates between like a 186 and like a 300 frequency. And if you're anywhere under 700 frequency, you're living hundreds of parallel lives at one time, even in this life. So you could be living parallel lives in this life. Then you have past lives where you could also be living hundreds of parallel lives.
My brain can't handle
this.
No,
it's a lot.
Okay. Have I ever been aborted in a past life?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Which feeds into like a belief of like not feeling like wanted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have that. And I just from doing this work, I was like, oh, what if that like happened in a past life? That would make so much sense to me.
Totally. Yeah.
That is crazy.
Yeah. Not that long ago either. Like,
I would believe you.
Probably like three lifetimes ago.
I believe it. Have I ever been a different race or a male? Jesse.
Jesse's like, I want to know. A different race, yes. I don't see you've ever been a male.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. You could have been, but I'm not. Nothing that like is important to know about right now.
I'm not giving off the big dick energy.
No, I'm not giving big dick energy. No big dick energy for you today.
Okay. Is there anything in a past life that's blocking me from making money now?
No, I think that's kind of like a cop-out.
Oh.
That people say. Like people like to, the spiritual world likes to be like, oh, it's from this thing in this completely different life, and it's from this, like, a completely different time or whatever. It's and making it as like this big block of like, no matter what you do, you won't be able to heal it because it's a thing from your soul. No, you can literally out-manifest those things, and you can rewire your brain to completely bypass that.
Great. Okay, so I know Jesse says we're out of time, but do you have the question from Instagram?
I do.
Okay, so that one, and then I have an ending question.
Okay, yes. We said we'd pick one person's question from Instagram because Meghan already had a bunch, but we said we'd pick one.
Yes.
Okay. Let me pull it up here. Okay, I'll let Meghan pick it.
Ooh.
This is what we got.
Ooh. Let's see. Okay. So the question is, does listening to affirmations while you sleep at night work? But you said affirmations don't work, but is there something that you could listen to at night to help reprogram your subconscious?
Oh, that's good. You could record your own
I've done that.
affirmations, but not affirmations, brain reprogramming statements, where then you're like, I am creative because I blah, 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 and like prove it to yourself with like a time you actually were. You can record that and play it at nighttime, and that would work better. But again, it's kind of like, you got to test how effective something is, because that tool is probably like 37% effective. What's really effective is you doing it, like you actively doing it, you actively connecting the emotions. We like these cop-outs of like, oh, let me go to sleep to this and I'll wake up and I'll
Well, I think also because
feel
they
better.
say the theta waves, right? Like
Yeah.
when you're like going to sleep and when you're waking up is the best time. And so I think people are like, oh, well, if I turn something on and then I like pass out to it, that's better, right? Or no?
Well, your brain is in a theta state then. It isn't as what's the word? Blocked by our other thoughts that we have going on, 100%. But if you're just doing that and you're not doing it in the day and actually like connecting to the emotions,
What if you do both?
it's not working out. Oh, you can do both for sure.
Then you're just up in your percentage.
You can totally do both, 100%. But if you're just doing that, it's not gonna be effective because you want to train your brain. You don't want to have to rely on anything else. You want to train your brain to be able to do it no matter where you are and what you're doing. And that's what's really important for what I teach and talk about is you don't want to rely on anything else. You don't want to rely on having to go to sleep and having to play something to get your brain a certain way. You want to be able to live in the human life, go throughout life, and be able to get your brain that way as stuff's coming up and have that practice.
Okay. Amazing. So my last question. So obviously people are listening to this podcast. We love it. In your programs, you've talked about watching The Matrix, watching The Truman Show. Are there any other recommendations, docu-series, movies, shows, podcasts that you listen to, like expand your mind, help us like learn more about this stuff?
Oh, okay. Well, that's hard because there's a lot of misinformation out there. Listen to Al's podcast, Alessandra's, and we'll link it in the show notes.
Okay.
That's when you're going to get
The good
what the
stuff.
fuck's going on, for real.
Okay. That's all of our questions. Thank
Meghan!
you so much, Allie.
That was so good. Thank you so much for coming.
You're amazing.
We love you so much. We'll put everything
you.
everyone needs in the show notes. And
We
we'll
love
see
you,
guys
Jessie.
soon. We love you, Jessie.